fight fans, to another epic round of boxing. I am your humble host, Tummy Tom. I would please ask you for the thumbs up. We need thumbs, okay? We need thumbs. We need subs. I appreciate the new subs. We want to keep those coming, even if they're trickling in. Put a lot of time and effort into this podcast for you guys. Talking boxing has always been a passion of mine. Growing up in New York barber shops and whatnot. Although your boy ain't seen a barber in a minute, dude. I ain't seen a barber in a while because we're trying to grow this all out, and it kind of gets tricky. We want to grow it all, and then we fix it up the way that we do is the best way to do it. Let's jump right in. Obviously, if you guys saw the thumbnail, we're going to be talking about the return of Teofimo Lopez, the takeover, so to speak, fighting Pedro Campa. We're going to be talking, we'll briefly touch on the Virgil Ortiz, victory over the guy that drove him to the fight. And then we're going to also talk, first off, about Michael Conlans' epic boxing performance, just taking his opponent to school for all 12 rounds. We've done a lot of these fight picks from the future on the shorts. Those are giving you the parlays, our picks. I am so glad to say that really it's 4 in a row now, but as we'll even just count it as 3, even though it's 4, because with the name fight picks from the future, 4 in a row, but 3 in a row on fight picks from the future. Either very close odds bets or specific bets and or parlays that'll right around at least double your money. Sometimes a bit less, sometimes a bit more. So we're going to say that right around, always going to try to double up your money. I'm so glad that we have gotten thousands of views on those, just hitting them out of the park. And the last one was like 25 views. Sweet. All right, so let's jump right in. Let's talk about Michael Conlan, first and foremost. I thought this was a great performance from him. I mean, really, nobody could say otherwise. The ring was super slippery. These guys were literally fighting on ice. The ref needs to definitely just get it. Just break the action for literally a few seconds. Have some people come in and wipe the damn ring down, because there was slips. There were knockdowns. There were legit knockdowns by Michael Conlan in this fight. There were also a lot of slips. Both of them, though, even without falling, slipping just numerous times. They need to get somebody in there and wipe that goddamn ring down. But nevertheless, very, very great to see Conlan back in that way. And again, if you watch the show, we obviously we picked him, but you don't have to be a rocket science to pick him. He's a fantastic boxer, very slick guy, and basically, the odds were definitely in his favor for sure. But it's the performance, right, itself. It just shows. The guy came off that Leigh Wood fight and was just working Leigh Wood. Had dropped him in the first round, and Conlan don't even hit hard. It's his timing. It's his timing and it's his shot selection that gets him in the door to get these knockdowns. People underestimate him because he doesn't hit hard, but his boxing IQ is fucking, it's really, really up there. It really is. And so he's dropping fools out there because of it. And I think they know he don't hit hard, so they want to kind of impose themselves. And plus, it is true. You can't blame these guys. People fighting Michael Conlan, it's like any other slick boxer. You're supposed to brawl a boxer, and box a brawler. So if you got this fantastic boxer with great footwork, incredible head movement in front of you, you don't want to stand at range and try to box with him. That is not the right game plan. So, they'll try to mix it up and rough him up, but he'll counter, and they just give it their best effort. Leigh Wood did that and was kind of getting abused in that fight until he just literally won it on just having a chin of steel, from being dropped, from being hurt multiple times, losing every round up to, I believe it was like the 8th round. and just outwilled him. Like, had Conlan gassing a bit and just kept that dog alive inside of him is the only way he saw it through. But that strategy doesn't usually work. So now we saw a guy sit back and not let his hands go enough and try to box with Conlan and be a little safer. And he's still in there just tripping over his own feet while Conlan's moving around them, getting hit clean, getting dropped. He got dropped legitimately at least once, I think twice. And then there were also several slips because they were fighting on ice. But it's good to see Michael Conlan back in this form, and I really, really hope that he gets that Wood rematch, because Conlan versus Wood is, to me, still the fight of the year. Maybe it's Taylor Serrano is up there, but very beginning of January, start of the year. I mean, these guys are still in contention for fight of the year. It was just epic, and that's the thing is Wood won a fight that he was losing, quite handedly before that. So it sells itself. We see Michael Conlan, and then that vicious knockout again. He's a better fighter. Than his opponent, than most opponents that he's going to have, outside of the very, very, very top guys with belts. But, it's the way that he did it. It was good to see him back, because sometimes you wonder when a guy gets viciously knocked out and fell down, almost, hit it. I think his brother caught him, but almost hit his head in the concrete down below, out of the ring. You need to see how these people come back. He could have very easily come back here, win or lose, even if he still won. You could have very easily seen a Michael Conlan that was timid. That would make me sad, because I'm a huge Michael Conlan fan, but it would not have surprised me. We've seen it time and again. Like, not just losing, even sometimes losing, but vicious knockouts will tend to do that to a lot of guys. And the fucking pair that Michael Conlan has on him to jump back in there with a guy who has a 75% KO ratio, and has only lost to really great names, really, in that division, is coming off of a loss that was that brutal, and then looking the way he did, which is fucking being active and just putting on a boxing clinic, is really good to see, man. That's really good to see. Real quick, we'll do the little Virgil Ortiz deal. I like Virgil Ortiz. I think he is one of the next up promising talents. But like any other fighter that are these kind of younger guys up and coming, Conor Benn, even, Boots Ennis looks incredible. But all these guys have not had significant names on their resume. Only Boots now is going to start to get there with the Sergey Lipinets and these guys and the Custio Clayton, who was undefeated. Now we're going to start to see what is true from the eye test that we're seeing, which looks incredible. You need to see these guys in there fighting the elites, and Virgil Ortiz is no different. However, again, because he's under Golden Boy Promotions, he's like, oh man, I'm ready for Terrence Crawford. I mean, first off, no. Just no, right? That's not fucking true. I would love to see the fight. Listen, if they set that fight up, I'm definitely watching it, and definitely picking Crawford. But I would want to see the fight, but no, I don't think he's ready for Crawford. But more importantly than what I think or what you think about who he could beat, the reality then is a whole nother thing in our way, because you're not getting any of those fights. We haven't even, been able to see you, Virgil Ortiz, in there with anybody other than a Golden Boy fighter. And what's his greatest win? It's not a bash on him at all. He looks incredible. But what's his best win? Rosado? I mean, he definitely won that fight, but I'm a huge Gabe Rosado fan. Gabriel Rosado has given him a bit of problems in there, though he definitely lost Rosado, but he gave him a bit of problems in there. It went all the way. There were things to see in that fight. You know what? I'm fucking mixing these people. I'm I'm mixing these people up. That was Jaime Munguia. What am I talking about? Who did Virgil? Oh, Aegis Kavalasquez. That's who he fought. Aegis Kavalasquez is his best win, the Meme Machine. That's who I was thinking of. Those guys are kind of similar to me, because him and the Puerto Rican Rocky, because they're just both incredible fighters that take all the best, toughest fights. If you're a Gabriel Rosado or you're a Kavalasquez or something fighting on DAZN, they're never going to run out of giving you these tough guys and seeing what you're made of. But if you're one of these top guys like Virgil Ortiz, you're never going to get a Terrence Crawford fight or an Errol Spence fight. You'll never fight Boots Ennis. You will never fight anybody. I mean, Conor Benn, although he's not under goldenboy, goldenboy and Matchroom, both promotions share the network of DAZN. They have worked together before, at least. That's like about as far as goldenboy's reach can go. And I even doubt that they would take a 50-50 offer on money for a Conor Benn in him, because people just don't respect Oscar De La Hoya is a fantastic fighter, but people, and myself included, do not respect him as a promoter. And it doesn't, I hate to talk money here on the show and stuff. I like to talk about the fights and try to break down the fights, make my picks and whatnot, but it matters, man. It matters. If we're going to talk about this stuff, it's almost like that's why I didn't talk about it. That's why I was more focused on, what does Michael Conlan look like? It's not because I'm just a Michael Conlan fan. I'm a Virgil Ortiz fan as well. But who in the hell is Michael McKinson? This fucking guy does not have like boxing technique. Oh, he got finished. Look at that win. No shit. No shit. And not only that, we've also seen these guys, Jaime Munguia included, taken way longer than we would like to see for them to get rid of these fucking guys that should have no business being in the ring with them. And so, no, we're not going to talk about what's next for Virgil Ortiz, because the first thing that needs to happen is he needs to leave Golden Boy Promotions. And so does Jaime Munguia, and so does Ryan Garcia, and any of these guys who are, undefeated and looking fantastic and really wanting to step up their career. Especially Jaime Munguia, dude. He looks great and he's powerful as shit, a lot of knockouts, right? He hasn't got to fight anybody except for Gabriel Rosado. And Jaime Munguia is like 40 fights into his pro career. It's not like getting frustrated, so is Boots Ennis. It's not like getting frustrated because, somebody looks fantastic, but they're on their 14th, their 16th fight. That's like normal boxing stuff. When you're 40 fights in, we need to be seeing, you're undefeated, you look great. We need to be seeing you against better people, better opposition, better fighters, and the only way to do that is to be with a respectable promotion that has, for one, first and foremost, other great fighters in your weight class under that same promotion. And then, even further than that, if it's one of these big promotions that works with other promoters at least sometimes, then you at least have a chance of seeing these fights that we all want to see. So, moving right along from that, let's talk the comeback of Teofimo Lopez. Lopez, I'm going to start this off by giving him a lot of credit, right? And then it's not like shitting on him. It's just really just search inside yourself. Like I hear things about fighters I'm a fan of, and if it's true, it might hurt a little bit, but it's true. So the first things that are for sure about Teofimo Lopez is, one, not only is he a great fighter, not only is he still young, but he's very athletic, okay? That's for one. He's actually a good athlete, which some fighters are not as much. Two, because he's young, which is part of it, he's young. Also, because he's a good athlete, you don't have to worry about his conditioning or his shape. And I do like the move up in weight because he was an enormous 135-pounder. So I like him going up to 140. Okay, another great thing, he has unreal raw talent. because he's still learning and he's still so young. He's only 24 years old, and he's not deep into his career, and he has already beaten Vasily Lomachenko and Richard Comey. So he has unreal raw talent, because he can learn more still, and he will learn more still. I'm confident of that. But his natural boxing ability, some people can take to the sport better and faster than others, and he has natural ability for the sport of boxing. That's another good thing about him. What else do we got? He has not reached his, well, we don't know, but we hope that he hasn't reached his ceiling yet, because he's so young, even though he's accomplished a lot in the sport already. There are many great things to say about the guy. Oh, also, obvious, he has extreme power. He is a very explosive athlete. So it's not looking for the precise timing of a counter as much as it is he can explode coming forward and putting the pressure. His shots knock people out. He has a lot of power. He has a lot of good things going for him. I have concerns, and it's not for this fight against fucking Pedro Campa, who, hold on one second actually, because I was looking this up earlier. I remembered that he had a loss, because it's his only loss. So first off, when you look down his resume, on BoxRec, there isn't a gang of, fighters that you would recognize at all. There's not really names on there to fill in this resume, where he only has one loss and he's, over 30 fights in. A much more longer pro career than Teofimo Lopez. He just, his loss, that he had taken back in late 2021, right? So this was not that long ago. Or I'm sorry, this was 2017. But he had a split decision draw, right, in 2019 is what, against Abner Lopez. Okay, so there's this draw. He took a loss to Carlos Geminiz. I don't know the guy's name. This fucking guy's 11, 8, and 1, and he beat Pedro Campa. And now we're gonna talk about him fighting Teofimo Lopez. There's not much to go over with this guy. And when I started this show, I actually would, watch boxing channels that I liked, and I still like them. But I thought one thing I can bring is, you obviously talk about the star, the guy thing, but a lot of times these other guys, they maybe have something to offer, something you could touch on to talk about them. There's not much in the way of that here with Pedro Campa. I think Teofimo Lopez absolutely runs this guy over, but my one concern with him in general, as in what he will accomplish at this weight class at 140, or any weight class really, is his mental stuff, right? He doesn't deal with his losses well. He did lose that fight to Cambosis, and it was such a celebrated moment, and instead of giving the guy credit, he kind of shit all over himself when being interviewed in the ring afterwards. There's just, it's hard. It's hard to, he's made so many excuses. He's literally said that, well, the only reason I lost that fight is because it was a setup with DAZN. So that because they knew I wasn't going to, it was a one fight deal that they had a bid for, and they knew I wasn't going to stay with them. And so they set it up that I would lose. You lost the fight, Tio. And there is no shame in that. It was a good fight. You lost it. So you don't need to be so humble. Like, even if you talk shit about the guy, right? Or Cambosis, or go, fuck you, or didn't show respect, shake his hand. I prefer that. I think a lot of people do in a professional sport, that you have some amount of sportsmanship, at least after the fight is over. But that doesn't need to happen, just because that might be what I prefer or you prefer. But what does need to happen is, no matter what, is accountability of yourself. And he came out guns blazing in that first round and got himself dropped, being too aggressive. He let George Cambosis get in his head. Let's not forget that as great of a win as that is over Vasily Lomachenko, that fight was won because Lomachenko won the second half. Now, what I did respect was Lopez winning that 12th round, which really sealed the deal. But Vasily Lomachenko won the second half of that fight up until that last round because he was just simply throwing punches again. He didn't throw almost any he literally had rounds of not throwing a punch in the first whole half of that fight. So it's pretty easy to score rounds over a guy who's not throwing punches. And that's Vasily Lomachenko's fault. That he didn't shoulder injury or not, doesn't matter. That's his own fault, so fair and square. But we're just calling it as it is here, and that is what happened. And then he refused when it's what Bob Arum wanted in Top Rank. It's what Lomachenko wanted. It's what everybody was calling for to see a rematch of that fight. He refused it in saying, oh, Vasily Lomachenko made me work my way, now I'm not going to fight him again. Then he took so much time off, let this bid thing happen to make a bunch of money for Cambosis, who originally, before that fight, people were mad, and I remember this, because, oh, he's going to fight a mandatory instead of, a Lomachenko rematch, instead of anybody else, the top guy. He's going to fight this mandatory, and nobody knew who George Cambosis was, and they were actually mad about that. Oh, this guy's just going to run through. And then he took forever, and it was like this big, oh, he's just trying to get all this money. And then he fucking lost. And he didn't have a good performance there. So this is a mental thing is the only thing. It's not a breakdown of his technique. It's nothing to say that he's not an incredible talent. It's nothing like, it's only mental. He's gonna, I would imagine, maybe we need to be careful here. Because me and everybody else and everybody's mother said that, George Cambosis was gonna get beat to shit in 3 rounds. Could he make it out of 3 rounds? Those were the over-unders for that fight. And he fucking beat Teofimo Lopez. So we do need to be careful because he can be the cause of his own demise. I want to see how he looks. I do expect him to win here. I do expect him to win by knockout. And maybe in a great fashion kind of knockout. But this is Pedro Campa. If you guys never heard of him, don't blame yourself. So the thing is what do we see here? What can we see, if anything? Because maybe there isn't anything to take away from fighting a lower level opposition like this. But yeah, I'm curious to see where his mind is, the lack of excuses. Also, the torn esophagus thing. He does have asthma, but that's when he had asthma. He's a professional athlete now. The torn esophagus thing, I'm not here to tell you guys that that's fake because I do not know. I have heard it was from a doctor. However, I've also heard from people, in ESPN, people, in different camps, professional fight, people in the organization, in the promotions that know and deal with Teofimo Lopez, people from ESPN, from DAZN, from all these things saying, I would not believe a fucking thing unless you show me the proof. I've heard this from multiple people. You guys probably have too. If you watch any boxing channel, you'll check out boxing news. A lot of people say, this guy's literally so mentally messed up and so full of excuses, him and his father, that I wouldn't take a single thing they said with any sort of, and just call it reality without seeing proof of it. Also, I think a guy that makes a lot of excuses and calls fight setups that you clearly lost and has a track record, and we can see a track record of him win or lose, making excuses and just not looking good mentally, him and his father. I would be hesitant to think that if he had this torn esophagus, not saying he didn't, but for a guy that has a track record of all these excuses, I'd be hesitant to think that he came away from that fight making all the excuses he did, and yet the torn esophagus wasn't one of them. Why is this something newer that we've heard only to be pushed on, trailers and things for Teofimo Lopez comeback. Like, that's the only reason why you lost and stuff. I just don't know, man. I just don't like the looks of that. That's the only thing I don't like about Teofimo Lopez. I think he's an incredible boxer, incredible athlete, incredible talent who could do even more great things than he has already accomplished. I want to see the guy do good. I do want to see the guy do good. I like this move up to 140. They want to set up him and Josh Taylor. I think that would be a great fight and a very winnable fight for him if he's in the right state of mind. Because everything else I don't worry about. Well, until next time, loyal fight fans, it has been great. I had a lot of fun this weekend at the beach. I also got a comment from a show that I very highly respect, this guy from Boxing Gems, and I appreciate the shout out, man. Just giving the comment saying, do your thing, bro, and keep grinding, and I will. Until next time, watch for the fight picks from the future. Hopefully we'll get more views, because if you guys actually have followed the 3 to really 4 in a row, right, over the last month that we haven't gotten a single one wrong, you guys would have doubled your money every single one of those 4 times. So off of $100, if you kept putting that same money in, you would literally be up to about $800 if you guys were listening to me. But yeah, we'll take it with a grain of salt. Those shorts will keep coming nonetheless for those who choose to listen to as safe as gambling can be, pick.